Hey everyone, welcome to the Self-Awareness Journey podcast. I'm Melissa Albers.
And I'm JJ Parker. This podcast is for seekers. Seekers of happiness and joy, seekers of a centered approach to success in life, seekers of their true, authentic selves.
Get ready for some real talk on everything from anxiety, emotions, and habits to love, compassion, and forgiveness. We know you'll be challenged and enlightened by this conversation. We're so glad you're here. Let's dive in. So JJ, yesterday I ran to the grocery store at the end of the day and I was like hoofing through trying to get all my stuff done. I was having cocktail club over at my house, and so I needed to get a couple things. And I came tooling around the dairy aisle.
Yep.
And I reached for a couple of things and then turned around, threw them in my cart, and started cruising down the next aisle when suddenly I heard this little old lady's voice. Ma'am, excuse me, you have my cart.
What? You took an old lady's cart?
And I looked down and it wasn't my cart. And that wasn't my purse in the cart either. She probably thought I was trying to steal it. How embarrassing.
Yeah, that's pretty embarrassing. So how'd you recover?
Well, because I've done that.
You just freaked out and took off?
I grabbed her purse and ran.
Yeah, right.
Well, because I've done that particular move so many times, I feel like I sort of gracefully got out of it. Meaning, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. She looked at me like, you psycho, and she just grasped the cart and disappeared around the corner.
So how did you feel like the rest of your grocery shopping experience?
Here's the sad news. I feel like I do so many embarrassing things that I just get over it fast now. I've given myself so much practice, but it is mortifying. It is more. And then, of course, there were a bunch of other people because I was at Lund's. So the whole place is packed. So everybody's watching me do this. It's like, oh my gosh, I feel so stupid.
Well, like last week I was at an event with a bunch of people, and like a bunch of people I didn't know. And we had to like go around and like introduce ourselves and tell people what we do. And I always hate the question, like, what do you do? Because like I do a lot. Like, I don't know, how much time do you have? Right. Most of the time I just get like some flippant answer because I just don't really like the question. Well, like last week we were doing that and it was my turn and I just completely like stumbled around. I didn't even tell people what I did. I'm like, I don't know. I like some companies and kids and projects. I'm JJ. You know, I'm like, oh my God, that's like the most embarrassing intro of myself ever. But the thing is I really struggled after that.
Oh, you did? You didn't get back on your game.
I didn't get back in the game, right? It completely derailed like my mental track for like an hour.
Oh.
And there was like a speaker and we're supposed to be engaging. And the whole time I'm thinking like, why can't I even explain what I do? Like, it's like the easiest thing. Like,
you just got in your head.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And I spun it and spun it and spun it. And it was like really frustrating.
That's interesting. You know, this just tells me again that you would not be good in sales. I remember this one time. Well, no, there were millions of times, but one time in particular, when I was newly in sales, I was so excited about having my own schedule. Like I could drive around and do whatever I wanted. And I drove through the McDonald's parking lot through the McDonald's drive-through because I was like, oh, of course, I'm in my 20s, everybody. So don't judge me. Well, you can judge me. It's kind of fun. But I'm in my 20s. I go through the drive-through and what do most people get when they go through the drive-through? Like they get something like a sandwich or whatever, right?
Yeah, like lunch.
Yeah. Or breakfast sandwich, even if you're, you know, whatever. Nope. I got scrambled eggs.
You can get scrambled eggs from McDonald's?
Well, you could back then. I don't even know if you can. Scrambled eggs and pancakes. So I ate them in the car while I was driving to my customer, right? And it was a Prospect, brand new.
Oh, that seems like a super easy food to eat and not spill all over yourself in the car.
Precisely, which I thought I did a beautiful job until I'm in this meeting and the guy keeps looking over my eye at my shoulder. He keeps staring at my shoulder. And I was like, what is wrong? Maybe there's someone behind me, or is he like reading something on this wall behind? What is he doing? And suddenly he said, I don't mean to be rude, but you have like a big pile of what looks like scrambled eggs on your shoulder.
On your shoulder. How did I get there?
I have absolutely no idea. But I was so mortified, right? And it's the same feeling inside. And I was just reflecting on your story, which I want to come back to. But I was just reflecting on, had I not been able to recover from that, the entire Prospect meeting would have been shot. Right?
Yeah. You're painting a good picture about how you get embarrassed a lot and have all these recovery techniques, or like don't let it bother you somehow. So let's break down embarrassment a little bit, because I think it's an interesting response. Like why do we even get embarrassed? Who cares, right?
Yeah.
So you had egg on your shoulder. Who cares?
Oh my
right?
gosh.
You care.
I care.
But why do we care? There's like a social thing, right? Like we want to be accepted. We want to be seen in a particular way.
Yeah, that is interesting. Why do we get embarrassed? Well, I guess you have a certain picture of yourself and you want to have that actor self well polished. You're right.
Yeah.
You want to have that actor self well polished.
Yeah.
Actors don't have scrambled eggs on their shoulders. Actors know how to smoothly respond anytime anyone asks them a personal question.
I heard this. I read this awesome thing last week. About the brain.
Oh, yeah.
And I just remembered. They're talking about how there's like a neuroscience kind of thing, and they're talking about how there's this theory of the brain that it's like a bunch of modules that kind of like fire kind of separately and kind of synchronized, but it's a lot more random than our our egos like to admit.
Oh, right.
So they're talking about that, and they positioned, our logical part of our brain, as our PR person, as our public relations. What our brain primarily wants to do is be a PR agent to make sure that we're looking super good in our social contexts, right? Within our social groups, within our peer groups, within our families and friends,
that is
stall PR all the time.
Good.
And I was like, whoa, that's actually super true.
Yeah.
Whether we want to or not, we're almost kind of subconsciously driven to, like you said, look a certain way.
Yeah.
So our brain is just kind of acting like a public relations person up there with the microphones, right? Saying, yeah, we got egg on our shoulder, but here's why. It's okay.
No
just smooth all this over.
Oh my gosh. Can I tell you another story?
Sure. Go for it.
I have so many stories. I remember this one time also in sales, I had to get my car repaired and I needed to be at the office when it was being repaired, but I didn't have any way of getting back to the office. So I was planning on having to sit there. Well, this guy, also a salesperson, offered that he would come and get me. And I didn't know him really well. And I was kind of embarrassed about asking him and then accepting, he's like, yeah, absolutely no problem. It's right on my way. So he kind of explained what his car was. And this is back in the day, right? So I had 80s heels. I just got to paint the picture because to me, the more I think about this over the years, the funnier the visual is. I am in little pointy heels, pointy-toed, pointy-heeled 80s shoes. I've got the little pencil skirt. I've got huge shoulder pads on this shirt, on my sweater. I've got massive 80s hair, right? And in the 80s, it was super cool to carry a briefcase. So I had a briefcase.
You're doing business.
I'm doing business. Had little gold trim on the corners. I remember it was gray, which was super cool because gray was my color. So I'm standing on the corner waiting for this guy. And it's near the frontage road. And I'm waiting and waiting. I'm feeling kind of self-conscious because, I'm looking pretty fine in my 80s, like, look. And I'm thinking, no nice young lady stands on a frontage road. So I'm waiting for my ride. Suddenly I see his car. I'm like, yeah, there he is. Okay. And to break the ice, because I'm kind of embarrassed, he starts to drive by or towards me, and I jump out on the road and swing my arms out. Woo! What? Like, haha, here I am. Like, you can't miss me, trying to be funny. Uh-huh. The guy had to swerve to miss me, and it wasn't my friend. It was a stranger. I picked the wrong car. It wasn't even the right car. Right? I was absolutely mortified. I've done so many things in my life like that, trying to pretend like I'm not going to do something stupid to make myself the PR person. It's the PR brain. It totally is that. Like, ooh, I'm going to look all relaxed and cool enough to make a joke, right?
Yeah, right.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, so a lot of times probably our embarrassment comes when we're actually trying to act like someone else, and then we mess it up.
Yes, right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I have an interesting question for you.
Okay.
Where do you feel embarrassment in your body? Because we always talk about the self-awareness journey and triggers and where they react in our body. So where do you feel yours?
Well, to me, I actually shake.
Oh.
Like it's like a whole body shake.
Oh. And is that the first thing that you notice?
Yeah, I think so.
For me, I get like actually, do you know what? I've even been so embarrassed that I'm sounding like a crazy person again, still. My eyes almost cross for a minute. Huh. It's like, I just eyes get big for a minute. And then my whole chest starts to feel prickly. Like, oh, here we go again. And then the very next response that I have is, I recognize this feeling. Oh, what a horrible, here we go.
I like that all of your embarrassment stories are like very physical, almost slapstick situations.
No. Those are only the ones I've told you about. We could fill up 5 hours of a podcast, which we won't. Well, maybe we should for fun later, but on a bloopers reel. I've done so many stupid things. I have done so many stupid things, and I have said so many stupid things.
So I had, I really had trouble recovering from that.
Yeah.
But as I was sitting there, like I'm such a nerd. Like I did that. We're all supposed to be in a group event. Like I'm just sitting here with like my notebook, writing down like all these ideas, like about embarrassment. Right. So this is how I engage in groups because I'm such an introvert.
What did you put? Do you want to share anything?
Well, yeah, it's just like I was thinking about why is the recovery so hard?
Yeah.
And then I started really thinking about like, why does my brain want to spin on this one thing that I like no longer have control of?
Oh.
Right.
Yeah, it's recovery. You're trying to recover. That's so normal, right? We all do that.
Yeah, but I was really stuck. Like, why did I get so stuck on it? Like, normally I can just kind of like let things go.
Yeah.
But then I mean, we already touched on it a little bit, but I was thinking about like, okay, I'm in a different social context. I wanted to kind of impress people.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't. Like, and then I thought about like all the 100 other things I should have said. Right.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I should have presented it this way or that way. There were so many other options than the dumb way I did it.
Well, okay. Right? So that's just loaded with judgment. You're judging yourself. It was like so hard.
Agreed. It was like a whole hour of self-criticism and judgment.
Wow.
But I just got stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've done that many, many times too. And
actually, I don't think it was until we switched and did a different thing.
Yep,
yeah.
You switched segments.
Oh, we went to happy hour.
Alcohol.
Yeah, there was the solution and cause of most problems.
Okay, so I want to take a little teeny commercial break right now and just say, isn't that interesting? Because what you did, and when you notice it quit, is when you switch segments. And that's what we talk about. When we get triggered, something really bothers us. We have these strong emotions, and then we keep ruminating on them, and we can't get past them, and we don't know why. And we're not going to be able to solve them by our brains. And the best way to do it is to switch segments, which is what happened. And switch segments means you leave the room, you start talking to somebody different, you take a nap, you meditate for a minute, you switch activities, anything like that, because it will shift your brain from the corkscrew it's in.
Yeah.
So I just want to make that little commercial break. Isn't that interesting? Because you did that. That's what happened for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. I didn't even realize it until you and I we're just talking about it now.
Well, do you wonder if the reason that hit you so hard is because that's something that's so important to you personally? What you do in your life, and how you have a very rich life with a lot of different things that are, and you enjoy more than a lot of other people. You enjoy having this unbalanced, crazy, interesting, really like all these different activities kind of life. And you place value on a lot of different things, but you also place value on we call you the chief compactor with words.
Melissa and I are huge self-awareness nerds. We've been working on this stuff for a really long time, and we love talking about it and sharing it with all of you. We've actually brought all of the stuff we've made into an online course, and we think it's really great. The course starts by learning about yourself and how your mind-body connection works. It dives into your thoughts and feelings, and then helps you learn how to become your true, authentic self. Start your journey today. Head to theselfawarenessjourney.com to learn more and sign up. Here's the other interesting thing that I was thinking about as I was sitting there stewing, I was like, did anyone else even notice or care? And I think the answer is no.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Right? Like, did I actually mess it up that bad? Probably not.
No.
Did they even care? No.
No.
No. Like most of the experiences where I felt really embarrassed, half the time people don't even notice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's super interesting. We're so focused on ourselves.
Yeah.
And we don't have very good perspective of, well, if other people thought that was embarrassing, or how long someone else would think about that event, probably for like 2 seconds, and then it's just gone.
Yeah. They're just listening to the next person.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. There's different layers of embarrassment too, isn't there? Like there's just in this conversation, have you ever had individual thoughts, like just thinking about something alone and then getting embarrassed about the fact that you were thinking about it?
That's funny, isn't it? Like we're embarrassed about our own thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Like, oh my gosh, that would be awful if someone knew I was thinking about that. Embarrassment's really, I feel like embarrassment's really tied to judgment. Yeah,
I think you're right. Because like, even again, in my example, like I'm a little embarrassed that now that we're talking about it, that I spent an entire hour on something that was so generally inconsequential.
But don't you think though, or do you think that as an introvert, I think that represents a very common reaction for introverted people to go very much inward and evaluate and have all the conversations inside. I think that's very, very common, and what it looks like on the outside is someone being very, very quiet and disconnected, or maybe not paying attention, but that's not what it is. It's the introvert having a lot of conversations inside of themselves. Don't you think that's kind of normal?
It's normal.
Yeah.
But it can still, what you were saying, embarrassment has a lot of judgment attached to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's like the internal judgment. There's like an example of the internal judgment, right? Judging our own thoughts, making ourselves wrong for even thinking things.
Yeah. 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 It's interesting how, like embarrassment has got to be one of the very first emotions that kids have.
Mm.
Don't you think? Like the minute they get in a social setting, whether it be as soon as they are consciously aware, like think about that. Like maybe a 2-year-old isn't going to be embarrassed about pitching an absolute fit in Target.
No, really little kids, they clearly don't have a lot of embarrassment. They'll just like do whatever,
right?
No
Live
inhibitions,
freely.
like right?
Yeah.
But as you get older, embarrassment almost like keeps your behaviors in a certain lane.
Yeah, it's like your social fence.
Yeah.
That's really interesting because I was just thinking, I remember when I was in 5th grade, I had a really best friend at the time, and her name was Patty, and Patty and I were like just thick as thieves all the time. And one day it was almost like she was running a social experiment because I remember being so perplexed. The 3 feelings I had were I was completely confused, I was completely devastated, and I was highly embarrassed. What she did is we were in a library just during like a reading hour or something. I can't even remember, but our whole class was in this library. And she went around and got everyone into sort of a group that she was running. And she just came up to me and she said, "No one likes you."
Well, that's mean. It
was so mean. And I was, and my parents were going through a divorce.
Yeah.
So it was a really hard time. And I just remember being so confused because she is such a good friend of mine. And I mean, she wasn't a mean person and she still isn't a mean person. She's a wonderful person. But she was going through some experiments herself, right? She was trying to figure out what was socially okay and not okay. And I started to cry and I was so embarrassed that I was crying in front of people. Like that was like such a, oh my gosh, I just felt like that was like a mortal sin to show that I was crying in front of other people. And when she saw that happen, right after everybody dispersed and went back to their classes, I remember her saying, "I'm so sorry I did that."
Yeah.
So there was something in there for her too. But I was just thinking about that. It's like, now that's a situation where I've done lots and lots of dumb slapstick embarrassing moments. But that was me being embarrassed about my feelings and being embarrassed by the experiment.
And I wonder if she is embarrassed by her behavior for that too.
Yeah, I think she was. Right? I think she was.
So that's an example, right, of those guardrails. It's like, hey, we're going to try this.
Right.
This social experiment, like you said.
Yeah.
Didn't work, right?
Yeah.
Melissa's crying. Now everyone thinks whatever, and then that's going to change her behavior in the future.
Yeah. And it also changed her. People thought she was a bully then. Yeah. Right. So, but it is interesting to think, because I think even as adults, we do practice things. This is the whole thing about goal setting, right? And you see all these memes. It's like, if you can think it, you can do it. If you can, if you can do it, you can be it, whatever, all these things, right? But on the backside of that is, if it doesn't work, it's not just failure, it's embarrassment. It's like people will know, I'll be found out. Yeah.
Yeah. So embarrassment is really when your PR self needs to really kick in and save the day.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. Isn't it interesting too that the very tool that is shuffling the deck to make you look cool on the outside is the very tool that's judging you to make you feel bad?
It's the irony of the human experience. All right. Well, I'm going to try to not do anything embarrassing for the rest of the day.
I'm not going to set such a lofty goal for myself.
But it is, I like this conversation. It's interesting how so many of these things are multifaceted, right? There's so many different angles to some of these things. And when we start kind of peeling back those layers of the onion, we just discover so many more things. So,
and you know what I would say too is, You never know a person's level of embarrassment or judgment. Give people grace. Because remember, like, even as you and I were talking about this yesterday, just trying to decide, like, oh, what are we going to talk about today? We started talking about this, and I just made an offhanded comment that I was like, oh my gosh, I've had so many more embarrassing moments than you. Like, and I think I said, and you what I said is, you recover so much better than me.
Yeah.
And what did you reply with? Do you remember what you said back?
No, I don't remember.
You said, no, I just cover it better.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I love that because that's the extrovert and the introvert right there.
Did you enjoy this episode? Please go to your favorite podcast platform to subscribe, rate, and leave a review so others can discover it as well.
Growing self-awareness is a lifelong journey, and there's always further to go. And it's better when we're all in it together. Please think of someone you know who could benefit from hearing today's conversation and share this episode with them. We can't thank you enough for listening. Until next time, happy exploring, seekers.